Good evening, everyone. Do what the will shall be the whole of the law. And welcome back to Thelema After Tears. Today, I'm doing this live on the 12th of August. Of course, if you're here now, you know that. If you're watching the recording, that's just letting you know that, yeah, today it's one important day for Thelemites. If you follow the can we say traditional? I guess we can say traditional by now. The traditional calendar of Thelema, as it is given in Liber Alva Leges, of course, chapter 2. There's a series of, I don't know, like intimation, like maybe suggestions from Hadith on how to celebrate a Thelemic calendar. And today is the feast for the first night of the prophet and his bride. It is an interesting one because for me it's always been, the one that really made me. I mean, I really like the idea, like celebrating the first union of the two people that would bring in the new Eon. Of course, Aleister Crowley, the Beast, and his first wife, Rose Kelly, which would be his first Scarlet Woman with the name of Huarda the Seer. And so, of course, they got married on the 12th of August, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think so. 12th of August, 1903. And so today was the first night, obviously. Interesting enough, almost 9 months later, right, you have the reception of the Book of the Law. So it's a good bit of myth making, myth creating, if you want. Myths, as I said many times, are so important, and Thelema doesn't really have many yet. So it's good. It's a good moment of myth making here. But anyway, hello Shilara, hello Jessica, hello Ginger, hello everyone. Thank you for joining. Tonight we're not going to discuss Thelema for once. Tonight we're going to discuss Magick as a whole, like in a more wider perspective of Magick. And we're going to discuss one subject that I'm particularly interested in. And one that I wouldn't call myself an expert because I'm definitely not an expert, but I'm someone who has been following the idea of cryptocurrency, the blockchain, the metaverse, the NFTs for quite a while now. What I'm interested in is obviously how they can interpolate with Magick, if at all. And I'm definitely not alone in this interest. While I'm not a militant into this new movement, there's definitely other people that are really like full blown into it. I've been more of an external observer, and often I might have passed as a critic of it. However, it's not exactly like that. For instance, let me give you a little bit of background of why I'm interested in that. I became aware of cryptocurrency and the blockchain in the early 2010s, right? Before the first big explosion of Bitcoin, which is the first and most famous token or cryptocurrency. And unfortunately, I did not invest in it, so I didn't make any bank when it really exploded. However, when it did really explode, I had some friends who had invested in it, and I was like, okay, this is interesting, right? On one side, it's interesting because can you make money out of it? At the time, it was before the period of course the coronavirus, the pandemic, before whatever looks like we're going to another global recession. So money was interesting, but it wasn't like the only focus, right? So I started looking into it, and again, I said I don't want to say I'm an expert, but like for instance, I have a portfolio. I have like an account on Coinbase. I have an account on Binance, and I have a MetaMask wallet. And for those, if anybody here is listening and you know crypto, so you know that there's some words right there that should already have like boom, turn your lights on. During the pandemic, I did, or rather, it's wrong to say during the pandemic. I really believe the pandemic is still here. Let's say during the lockdown years, I was trading a lot, as many people were, to be fair. and I did make some money out of it. So, long story short, I'm not a hater, right? Absolutely not. I think that the blockchain is a fantastic technology, and I do believe it is one of the futures of computing. It's one of the futures of the future of technology itself. The way the internet, whatever we call the internet, think to go back in the early 90s, if you were alive, like I was, like we were on BBSs, on dial-ups, and everything, like downloading a picture was this big deal. But there were some people that were already invested in it, like I was, and so I really believe that the blockchain is that kind of technology. It will change the way we understand the internet. It will change the way we live our lives. It's already been doing it, to be fair, right? When something like this happens, it's inevitable, and I would say it should also be auspicable that this technology bleeds into esoterica, bleeds into occultism. Phil Hine, which I owe him a lot of the discussion we're gonna have tonight, because we had some very interesting discussions on this subject on Twitter in the last week. He made a very good point, right? And saying that occultists are not Luddites. Of course, there will be like people that are ultra traditionalists, and there are people that will think that only the older grimoires, all the true bowlines made of wood cut from the tree at night, etc. That's the only real magic. But that's not who I am, and that's not who we should be really. The point is that Phil made the point that, in fact, occultists usually are the first to really embrace new technology. Think of printing. Think of it, right? The real explosion of interest in esoterica, outside it being a very esoteric practice, was with printing. As we started being able to print books, and to that was when we started having an expansion of esoterica. So it's not about being Luddite. It's about understanding what can we do with it, and something else. But let's start with what can we do with it. First of all, what I'm seeing right now is a lot of people that are promoting or shilling, as to use a crypto term, well, or let's say a tech term, an internet term. Anyway, I've been promoting their own esoteric NFTs. So let me stop here for a second. If you don't know what an NFT is, NFT stands for a non-fungible token. And it's quite complex for me to explain what it is. I will possibly put some links below, so you can link and go and watch videos from people that can explain it much better than you. There's especially one by this guy called CoffeeZilla. He is an internet detective, but it's also a guy that makes amazing, very fun, very well-researched YouTube videos. And he's been following crypto for a while because he tends to uncover scams, and that's where we're gonna end up with. Like, we're gonna discuss that side of it, which is problematic in my view. Anyway, back to NFTs. A lot of people are trying to promote their NFTs, their artistic NFTs, and from one side, I completely understand that everybody have seen the opportunity to make money. As I said at the beginning, during the lockdown years, a lot of people made a lot of money. Some people made some money. I was one of them. I'm not denying it. And so, everybody wants a chunk of that, especially in recession years. And I also understand that artists are really on the outlook to find a way to be rightfully paid for their art. I mean, I am a ex-musician, a former professional musician, because at some point I realized that career would not sustain me anymore, because it was so difficult to sell music, it was so difficult to sell merchandise, it was so difficult to sell tours and whatnot. Of course, I was working in a very niche genre, industrial, EBM, goth, so uh, still, I understand artists needing to make a living. I do. My problem starts when you hear the pitch that it's very generic. Like, if you buy this NFT, if you buy this little, string of code whereby, there's a string of code on the blockchain that, once you click on it, you will see a picture that you bought, it's yours. It's again, I'm simplifying. You watch the CoffeeZilla video that I will link below so you will understand better. The point is that, again, buy this NFT and you will charge it magically with your energy, because the exchange of money and exchange of energy will charge it as a talisman. One book came out recently, and is this one, Spellbound by Ra-Hoor-Khuit. Ra-Hoor-Khuit is, she was the first person to ever interview me. She's the one that's kind of responsible for me even having an internet presence, so I thank her. This book is fantastic, by the way. It's one of the most beautiful books out there. I think I showed you once already. It's such a beautiful, it's a piece of art, I think. It's very solid. If you're a bibliophile, for only £15, you can get a beautiful Magick coffee table book, right? And Ra-Hoor has always been very at the forefront of, how to blend futurism and magic, right? This book's subtitle is A Witch's Guide to Crafting the Future. And there's a lot of discourse in there about what I told you, like the NFTs, something else we're gonna get there in a second. The idea of you can use magic with this technology, and you can create magic with this technology. The problem is that, but in the book, which is great nonetheless, and when you speak with these people online, it's very difficult for them to come up with an actual theory. Like, why would it work? Where's your proof? How can you tell me that I'm not just buying your art? Why? Maybe if I'm interested, I'll buy it anyway, right? But why do we have to, not want to say hide it, but dress it in a way that there's a magical element to it? It's very difficult to come up with a provable theory of magic. Crowley tried and failed multiple times. His understanding of what magic is changed over time. In most of you here, possibly, we remember maybe the most classical definition of magic, and maybe I will have read the theorems of magic in Magic in Theory and Practice. Well, that was 1920s, the late 1920s. He changed his mind a lot by the end of his life, 20 years later. And from 1947, when he died, okay, I don't know if I'm back. Yes, I should be back now. I don't know what I can do about this disconnection. I hope it will be clear enough. So, okay, I see myself again. Perfect. So what I was saying is that it's difficult to come up with a proper theory of magic so that people can tell you this is why it works. I must thank also another person, Dan Lowe, that he put together a very neat Twitter, again, thread on the varying shapes and theories of sigil magic. I'm going to read for it, and I'm going to show you that even when we discuss about sigil magic, there's so many theories about it, and there's so many different understanding of it. So whenever you hear people say, well, you buy the NFT, magic works, there's a transactional energy there because it's like a sigil. Well, it's not really true, because sigils are, we don't know why they work, right? We don't. And that's something fantastic. We have finally transcended the delusion, I would say, of a certain early understanding of chaos magic, from Pete Carroll mostly, that we had the theory of magic. We knew why things work. We don't. We know that magic works. We can run tests, and maybe we should run tests with NFTs. We should try and see if, buying an NFT, if like 10 people buy an NFT, is that gonna charge that talisman more? If 100 people buy it, if 1,000 people buy it, you know what I mean, right? That's what we should do. We should test it, but we cannot start from the preconceived notion that since the theory of magic says so, it works. There's no theory of magic. Nothing is proven. It's not a science. And possibly Crowley is gonna hate me for that. He's gonna turn in his grave, but he was cremated, so there's no grave. But the point is, I say this many times. If you follow me, you know that magic is a thing, science is another thing. They two can come together and they can talk to each other, but to think that magic can really be fully dissected as a science, I think it's a delusion. Back to Dan, he says that, for instance, one of the earliest understanding of sigil magic as we know it comes from Austin on Spare, of course, where sigils are charged via the nullification of belief, what he called the neither. Kenneth Grant, sigils as a technique of atavistic resurgence and familiars at the root of memory. Dan says that it's a very odd take and no doubt influenced by Grant's eye for art and poetry. Then you have Ramsay Dukes, which is one of my favorite, magical thinkers. Basically, he says that it was very similar to Spare, right? And it's all about understanding the duality of the energy at play and, destroy it together. I tend towards this theory. Again, it's a theory. There are many. None of this, nothing that I've said so far implies that if you buy an NFT, that NFT gets charged. Then you have, of course, Pete Carroll, which, by the way, it's all about, for Pete Carroll, how do you charge it? By staring at mirrors in front of candles. That's something that's very different from even the sexual way of charging a sigil. So for Pete Carroll, maybe there's not much energy involved. Or maybe that's the energy of the concentration. But it's not so much about like sending energy, charging something like it's a battery, which is the take that you get from a lot of these people that trying to sell you NFTs, magical NFTs. Andrew Smith is saying, hey, hello Andrew, and hello Madeline. Ramsay is the best magical thinker in my humble opinion, in mine as well. As I said many times, SOTBME, Sex Secrets of the Black Magicians Exposed, I think it's right, best book best essay on magic ever. There are many others ideas of how to create an NFT. For instance, the Temple of the Psychic Youth used the word sigils but eschews Spare's artistic glyphs. It was directed sensual fantasizing and crafting a sigil paper as a part of a 23 monthly rituals. So this was one of the first time when we started looking at the idea that creating something and putting out there for people to consume might generate, energy. Then there's a lot of it goes on and on and on. Like I only read you, I think 5. I think there's Dan came up with 15 here, and there's maybe even more. My point is, we don't know why sigil works. So for people selling NFTs, telling you straight up, well, you should buy my NFT because if you're buying the NFT, you will charge my magical operation. And if the magical operation is about, abundance, prosperity, Jupiter, you will get this. I'm sorry, but that's not it. It's just your theory. Then prove it. Show me that 100 people have bought the NFT, charged the Jupiterian talisman, and got money out of it, or prosperity. Then that's something we can start with. But no one is doing it. Because unfortunately, what I'm seeing is possibly because most of these people are artists more than magicians. And I think that the intersection between artists and magicians are the best, but maybe there should be more magic into it. There's another thing that I wanted to say about this. There is a dark side to this whole concept. And the dark side really is that as it stands right now, the crypto market, the NFT ecosystem is really toxic. Again, I will link you to another CoffeeZilla video, and I will also link you to the video of another guy that runs a channel called Coin Bureau. Now, why I'm going to do this? Because CoffeeZilla, you might say, well, he's an NFT hater, he's a blockchain hater, he's a crypto hater. He is not, by the way. He's very much in my position. Like, he has crypto as much as I know, as far as I know, but he is trying to be objective about it. Well, Coin Bureau is a full-on supporter of the blockchain, crypto, NFT ecosystem. He is very critical of the scene, if you want, right now, because there's a lot of scams. Because as ever, whenever there's money involved, whenever there's a lot of money involved, I mean, we're talking about people making millions here. I mean, we're not talking about hundreds, thousands, which is good, but we're talking about people making millions. And when there's this kind of money involved, there's always a terrible kind of people involved in it. you cannot avoid it. That's how it is, right? That's human nature. So I'm kind of worried that we as the Magick community is just going to, instead of trying to become a beacon of truth and a beacon of evolution, we're just going to fuel all the worst sides of late-stage capitalism, which is already eating us alive and is already, sending us into another global recession, making us all poor, etc., etc., etc. And I will already hear, the usual crowd. Oh, don't listen to Marco. He's a terrible leftist. He's a libtard, etc., etc., etc. As I said many times, most people will think of me as a leftist because most of the critics maybe come from the United States, where they don't have a real left. The so-called Overton window is so moved onto the right and the far right that somebody like me, who really is center right, will be seen as as a communist, right? I'm just saying that by all means we should really try and embrace these new technologies. I am not sure that buying an NFT will charge a talisman, because there's no proven theory behind it, and there's no proven theory of sigil magic at all. We just know it works. And last but not least, I also think that there's the real risk that we're going to support terrible people. One more video that I'm going to put down, actually I think it's already down, is this very long video of this investigation by this guy called Fillion, another YouTuber, big YouTuber, and this guy called Ryder Phipps or something. I don't remember the name, Ryder something. Big name in crypto, very big name in crypto, about a very, very famous and very mainstream NFT collection worth trillions, called Bored Ape Yacht Club. Well, you should watch it. I'm just gonna give you a little hint. There's Nazis involved, so possibly, allegedly. But you will see for yourself. And so I'm thinking, right? I've seen the slow but steady and slithering interference of the far right into the occulture. I discussed it before. I'm not gonna name names. You know who I'm thinking about. I discussed it before, and I will never stop discussing it. Well, I don't want these people to have yet another way in our community. If we even do we still have a community? That's debatable. But can we keep these people out? Well, we should do it, right? And definitely we should not make them money. I mean, that's to be sure. Now, let me be clear here. I'm not saying that any magician out there creating NFTs is connected to these people in any shape or form. But remember, this is a very unstable and new ecosystem, and the people at the top, called whales, they are the ones who really hold all the power, economic power in this case. So you always end up making money for them. So I don't know if we need to do this, right? Maybe it's too early. Another thing that I want to say, and by the way, Further NCNI, Bored Ape has the SS logo in some of its art. Yeah, in most of it, actually. It's really bad. Like, watch the video, that's already linked below. The other ones by CoffeeZilla, I will link them later. Of course, if you're watching the recording, they already will be linked. But it's really bad, right? Now, another thing I want to say, in the title of this video, I mentioned the Metaverse, right? Like, do we need it? Well, first of all, once again, whenever you hear people telling you how the Metaverse is the future, how Magick will be the best in the Metaverse, that's how we're going to, change our understanding of Magick in the Metaverse. No one knows what the Metaverse is. No, we don't really have it yet. The Metaverse is not a glorified Second Life chat room where you just create your avatar and you chat with your people, with your friends, right? It's not that super cringy meta advertisement done by Mark Zuckerberg a few months ago, where it was so fucking cringy. It's not even funny, right? But the point is, none of us know what the Metaverse is. So, yeah, maybe we should look into it. Maybe we should be open-minded about it. One of the things that I was I'm asking myself this question, right? So, in the magic I do, Thelema, Western esoteric tradition, Golden Dawn style magic, ceremonial magic, you know what I do. Visualization and deriving will through visualization, it's very important. Over the last few years, teaching these subjects on my platforms, which, by the way, I haven't advertised them yet. If you want to join, it's in the link below. And if you want to support this channel with a super chat or super sticker, you can do that as well. I've done my bit, advertising bit, back to Wednesday. In the last few years, teaching these subjects, I came to understand that something that I always took it for granted, that is that people can visualize, well, that's not the truth for everybody, right? And I really never understood it up until I had long discussions with a lot of my students on Magick Without Tears, telling me that they would love to visualize, or they would love to entertain path working exercises, astral temple exercises, but they just don't visualize anything. Well, that's called aphantasia, whereby people that can visualize very easily, it's called profantasia or hyperphantasia. Well, what I noticed is that at the same time, the more we discussed about it, and the more they understood why it is important in my style of magic, right? It might not be the same for all of them. In fact, it's not the same for all style of magic. I'm thinking about a lot of folk magic, a lot of African diaspora magic, a lot of, visualization is not the same for, it's not important for all styles of magic. But in my style, the more we discussed it, the more they tried anyway to at least force visualization or try to get into that state of mind, and they did, right? I'm not gonna name because it's not here tonight. But there's one person that, he started by saying, "I cannot see anything, but I will try," and now he's made like leaps and bounds, right? Do you have to do it? No, you don't. And I would argue that maybe using like virtual reality temples, metaverse temples, if you want, could be a great aid for those who have these problems, in the same way that the super complex temples of Freemasonry, the super complex and colorful temples of the Golden Dawn, think of the Vault of the Adepti, for instance, were really cues for mnemonic processes. Freemasonry, one of the keys of Freemasonry really is the art of memory, and one of the key techniques of the art of memory is the creation of the memory palace, right? Well, as for instance, like this, there's this author called Martin Fox. He wrote a beautiful book on the art of memory that will tell you that you can see how a Masonic lodge and an O.T.O lodge or a Golden Dawn lodge were really created to simplify, to exemplify in the outer what you were going to do in the inner, right? So in many ways, going to lodge, going to temple, really was an aid, right? Like so possibly, creating the same thing in the virtual reality will be great. So it won't destroy our ability to visualize. The problem is that, and this is something that I think it was EL131 that mentioned on the tweet, on this very long Twitter thread that generated this this ramble here. The reality there is that a metaverse temple, a virtual reality temple, it's so much closer to the physical world, to Malkuth, than to Yesod and the astral, because it has its roots in here, in the physical. Without a computer, you're not gonna have anything, right? When you really access the astral plane, when you really access these astral temples, and you move onto subtler spheres, well, you're not in the physical realm anymore. So there's that, right? And then there was another person, Remy Susson, that, by the way, thank you all, like all the people that I mentioned, thank you for these fantastic discussions we had on Twitter the last week, really. He made a point that actually was like, well, I never entertained that idea, and that actually is fantastic. Well, in the future, or rather, people are already trying to make sense of it right now, but we don't really have the technology yet. But the way to really engage with the metaverse could be exploring a universe made of pure sound, and you are, like, your body is that of a n-dimensional whale made of sound. Now that is interesting, right? And that is much closer to the kind of transmutation that you have a glimpse of and you start engaging when you move up the spheres on the Tree of Life, if we're using the Tree of Life as a map of reality. So in many ways, that would be fantastic. But it's not what we have right now, and it's not what the what the heralds of the metaverse, of the magical metaverse, are telling you about now. They're telling you that the great thing will be to not be on a Zoom call or on a YouTube live, and just be in the metaverse. Oh, why? Like, do we need it? Again, maybe some people will find it useful, but do we need it? I don't know. Anyway, that was the ramble for tonight. Like, I just wanted to share these ideas with you, because I think that we are going to have to make sense of these technologies. They're not going away, and I would argue they should not go away. Like, I think technology, first of all, I think it's inevitable. You cannot stop the way technology, it expands or grows. It's inevitable, right? Unless we hit an existential level event, hopefully not, or, we just, something happens, right? Mad Max style, and we revert back to the Dark Ages. As you argue, it happened, when the Roman Empire fell. Unless that happens, well, technology will keep on going, and we cannot stop it, nor we should. And Magick will use it, and that's fine. I'm just saying that possibly right now it's a little bit too early, and I feel that we are so exposed to bad actors using our and I mean like magicians' interest for these technologies and these possibly new landscapes, that we really need to guard our temple, to use a specific term that you find in the O.T.O. So anyway, that's it for tonight. Thank you for listening, as usual. All the links will be in the description below. If you want more of this, I'll be back here on YouTube every maybe 2 weeks. I don't know when I have something to say. There will be a huge announcement before the end of the month because I'm finally releasing an online course. A lot of you have asked about it. A lot of you would like to learn the things I have to share with you, but there's less and less times to be really involved in a magical community, as the one I was running on Patreon. So you will see what I'm coming up with in maybe in a week, maybe in 2 weeks, something like that. There will be like a video. There will be announcements on my social media accounts, so you will not miss it. And of course, once again, thank you all who pre-ordered my book. It's been a number one for almost 2 weeks. Of course, now it went, the pre-orders went down. It's still in top 20 for occult magic on Amazon UK, which is my main my main market at the moment. So thank you all. It's been fantastic. I didn't expect that. The book is still going to come out on the 14th of February in the UK and in Europe, and the 14th of March in the United States. I've seen the first the first drafts of the typesetting. They look fantastic. I hope I will be able to start sharing some previews with you in the next few weeks. For the time being, once again, thank you all for listening. Do what the will shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love and the will.